Coming up next, we'll discuss 2 hidden personality traits that all high achievers share, and we're going to talk about your money and the path to the dream with my guest, Rachel Cruz. It starts right now. I am coming to you live from Ramsey Solutions Studios in Nashville, and you are joining a conversation about who you are, what you were created to do, where you want to do it, and how you can get there. It is about your purpose in and through your work. We believe here on the Ken Coleman Show that every woman and man on the planet was created to fill a unique role in your work, through your work. In other words, you were created to contribute. So we don't look at work as this utilitarian function that's just full of drudgery and misery that just simply allows us to have enough money to live, maybe make some memories. No, we look at work as something that we live to do. We live to contribute. All of us are united by one thing. In a time, certainly in our country here in America, where we are as divided as we've ever been, we are all around the globe united by one thing. Not that we were created, not just that we were created to contribute, but that we long to contribute. Everybody wants to make a difference in this world. That's why we lie awake at night and ask the age-old question, what should I do with my life? Why am I here? And so I submit to you that when you join this conversation and you get clear on the 3 gifts that your Creator gave you, talent, what you do best, passion, work that you love to do, mission, results of your work that make your heart sing, when you see how they align and point to your sweet spot where there are multiple jobs and multiple career paths, that's going to set your soul on fire. So we're chasing significance here. And if you get that, success and satisfaction are going to come with it. So if you're in for that kind of conversation, come on. 844-747-2577 is the phone number, 844-747-2577. And also coming up later in the program, my colleague, multi-New York Times #1 bestselling author Rachel Cruz will join me in studio. She's got a brand new book out, and we're going to talk about money. And many times on this show, we will talk to callers who their money life, their money situation has got to get cleaned up and stable to be able to pursue the dream job. And so money's a part of this deal. And so we're going to talk about your money personality, the way you were raised, your environment, and how that will help you on this all-important journey. So that's coming up. But first, I am obsessed, as you folks know, with data and what data can teach us. And so I want to go through some new information from some research that is coming publicly soon. It's called Personality and Individual Differences. And psychologists have done some research. The University of Applied Sciences, Northwestern Switzerland, is behind this. The leader of the study was Thomas Gatska. Okay, so here's what they were looking into. They were digging deeper to see if they could identify common personality traits of high-achieving people. So here's what they found. A quote from Thomas Gatska. The 2 factors within the 5-factor model of personality most frequently associated with achievement are conscientiousness and openness. Now, let me just go back and give you a quick review of what is pretty much the widely held, the 5 overarching traits that he's addressing here. 1 is openness to experience. 2, conscientiousness, awareness of yourself and others. Extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So of those 5, what this study found, that achievement is related mostly to the 2 traits, conscientiousness, awareness of self and others, and then openness to experience. Now, digging into the research, here's what I want to dive into. The research suggests that openness to experience and conscientiousness have 2 subdimensions each. So So I want to walk through these. And don't get hung up on the big words here, because I'm going to give you the application that you understand. All right, so if we look at openness to experience, there are two types of openness. Senso-aesthetic openness, and again, forget the big words. Here's what this is. First dimension, the first subdimension of openness to experience is you prefer sensory and perceptual exploration and immersion in art, creativity, imagination. So it basically means you love artistic expression, being creative. You love being in an imaginative state, if you will. The second is the intellectual openness, and this is a preference for intellectual stimulation, learning, scholastic pursuits, again, learning and performing in an academic environment, and then cognitive stimulation. So again, all these fancy words. It kills me, these researchers. They just need Ken Coleman to come in and just give real words to people. All this basically means is you've got of the openness to experience, you prefer artistic, creative, imaginative work, experiences, expressions. And then you love to learn. You love to be challenged mentally. All right, now for conscientiousness, the two subcomponents are orderliness, where you prefer routines and details, and then industriousness. You want to be on mission, focused, pursuing and achieving goals. So, those characteristics that I just walked through, are those characteristics that you can develop and improve upon? The answer is unequivocally yes. So, summary, regardless of how naturally curious or goal-oriented you are, if you can foster intellectual curiosity and industriousness, which again is if you can be curious and diligent, it's going to lead to more success. But there was no direct correlation to those who had higher GPAs, that they were going to be any more successful. So to you parents out there who've got that super creative kid who's struggling with the GPA and you're worried, oh, are they going to be successful? The answer is, if they're curious and if they are diligent, yes, they will be. So relax on the GPA and these character traits. That's what you need to be focused on. 844-747-2577, 844-747-2577 is the number to jump in. Let's go to Tallahassee, Florida to start it off with our phone calls today. Sarah is there. Sarah, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, how are you doing this afternoon?
Sarah, I am living the dream. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Good.
Okay. My situation is...
Hold on. Sarah, you keep that phone close to your mouth. You just went to outer space, and I think you started to come back. There we go.
Okay, there we go. So my situation is I hate my job. And like I have a boss that likes to verbally abuse me. She'll be like, and I am working towards getting into a new, completely what I really want to do. And the problem is I'm taking night classes, and it takes twice as long with the night classes than it is with day classes to get where my certifications to where I want to be.
Okay.
A friend of mine offered me a decent amount of money to quit my job, to tide me over until I get all my certifications, to, keep my bills steady. My thing is that's what I'm worried about. I have bills, got to pay.
Yeah.
I have a substantial amount of debt, and I'm doing the Dave Ramsey thing in order to slowly pay them off.
Good.
Actually, that's how I found out about you.
Great.
And my question would be, should I just suck it up and continue into the job that I hate until I get all the certifications to quit and get my new job, even though it's going to take me like twice as longer to get all my certifications? Or do I trust my friend that they're going to give me this substantial amount? It's going to be around $5,000. Do I quit my job, take that money, and then get my certifications?
Suck it up.
What would you do?
Suck it up. Yeah, welcome to being a big girl. You know, you got to wear your big girl pants. You know, it's big girl pants time. I don't like the idea of taking $5,000 from a friend. That could ruin that friendship. At worst, at best, it's going to create tension. I appreciate the heart of that person. And I don't think it's that necessary. First of all, $5,000 is not that much money, but I still think it's a bad idea. How much longer is it going to take you if you stay in your current situation, which I'm going to address your current job in a moment. But if you just keep doing night classes, how much longer is it going to take than if you were to go day?
About a year.
Okay. And how long would it take you if you took the $5,000? Well, see, no, I don't even like this. I'm not going to go down there because what you told me is that the $5,000 will help, but you'll still need to work. You'll still need to pay the bills, right?
Well, it would pay the most important bills. Like, I have an automatic bill coming out from a bank to help me get my life back on track. And it would take care of those to make sure that
Right, but you'd have other bills, so you're going to need to work anyway. No,
not really. I don't have rent because I live on my family's farm, and
okay. Let me ask you this:
tiny house.
If you got this money that tided you over, how much quicker would you get the certification done?
Half the time.
6 months
max.
How quickly would you pay the friend back?
That's the thing. They don't want to have me pay them back. They're like, here's a gift. They're well off, and they were just like, here's a gift. If you want, we'll give you this money so you can get this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is this friend your age or much older?
A little older. Family friend.
Ah.
Well, they overheard me complaining to my mom about a situation that happened, and that, like, my boss almost had me end up in tears just because she was in a bad mood and I called at the wrong time. So it's just been, I've been kind of like, I don't know.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to revisit this here. I don't mind wrestling with these things. The friend is a friend of your parents.
Correct.
And they're very wealthy.
Yes.
Tell me, to the best of your ability, what they said to you about this. I just want to hear this thing all the way through. What did they say?
They pretty much said, we don't want you to be in that situation to where because I made an off comment about driving into a tree one day so I didn't have to go to work, and they overheard that. And they said, we don't want you to ever think that you are in a situation where it's horrible. If we gave you this money as a gift so you can go to the day classes, would that help?
And you said?
I said, let me think about it.
So you haven't gotten back to them?
No, I wasn't.
What's your mom think?
Sure. I was like, this.
What's your mom think?
My mom's on the fence about it too. She's like, because she's also worried that, that $5,000 won't be enough.
I don't think it is, by the way. That's my big... Yeah. So let me just tell you, your mom's right, and that's my big problem with this. $5,000 isn't going to take care of all your needs, even if you're living on the family farm. It's just not. And
right.
And even though it's a gift, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful offer. And that's why I wanted to sit through it a little bit longer here, because, people have given money to Stacey and I early on in life. As total gifts. And I tried to resist it. And they were like, this is a blessing for us to do. We want to do this. No strings attached. But I had the maturity and the wherewithal to really push back on it and say, I don't want to feel like I owe you money. And then when they engage in that. So there are times where people want to bless us in life. And the fact that it's an older person, it's a friend, they're very wealthy, it does feel like a gift to me. And so I'm not, there are times where I learned this lesson early on. My dad told me this. He said, when somebody truly wants to bless you, don't rob them of the blessing. And so I do think that that's why I'm going, but I just don't think 5,000 is enough. And I think that the bigger issue is that you need to do this. I don't think 5,000 is enough. So then it's just enabling you to not step through this challenge. Because I think that what I would tell you to do if you were my little sister, I'm going to act like your big brother here, is you need to get out of that job. You need to tell that boss to pound sand and stop telling people that you would rather drive into a tree than go to work. That's too much victim. And I understand you've been mistreated and I believe you, but you are a grown woman and you need to go, I'm not going to let anybody treat me that way. This is America and I'm going to go somewhere else and work. So I think you need to leave, and after you get something else, and then I want you to work your way through this. And then maybe you do a nighttime job so that you can do day classes and still make money. So that's my challenge to you. If the day classes will allow you to speed this up to 6 months, then move to day classes and work your fanny off at night and fund your way through this. You don't need a ton of money living on the farm anyway. And so that's what I would rather you do, and not take the gift.
Okay.
You know why? It's going to mean so much more when you get there. Way more. All right. Now listen, I'm proud of you and I'm not being tough. I just want you to know, I don't think the $5,000 is enough. So therefore it's a partial gift. And I think it puts you in a situation where you just can kind of, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to kind of get through here and try to do it. No, you got this. I think you need to try to do it in 6 months, day classes and work at night, get there faster. And I think you're going to be so much better for it. I think you're going to be tougher, and I think you're going to appreciate the journey so much more. That's my take. But I do want to circle back very quickly to the rest of the audience here. At first I was like, don't take the gift, because that could create all kinds of tension, and it could. But knowing what I know about the situation, a little bit more detail, if it's an older person, they're very wealthy, and they're just like, look, we just want to bless you, I'm okay with those things. But after you push and push and push and go, look, I'm so blessed and thankful for the offer, but I'm reluctant to take your gift because I don't want in any way to create tension between us, and I would really like to pay you back. No. We don't want it back. It's truly a gift. It would really make us feel great if we could give you this. Okay, now it's okay. That's how I would approach that. So I just want to tie a bow on that deal. Back to the phones we go, 844-747-2577. Let's go to Jennifer in Denver, Colorado. Jennifer, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet. What's up, Jennifer?
I'm a pharmacist and had some problems with addiction in the past, which resulted in me losing my job and obtaining a felony. And I've been clean and working in other fields, but I really would like to get back into pharmacy, and having a lot of trouble even getting my foot in the door anywhere because I have kind of a black mark, and it's a big stigma in the medical community. I'm sure you are aware, but I'm just looking for some advice on maybe some different ways to approach it and have some better luck.
So how have you been approaching it so far? Just standard applying to pharmacy positions, and then tell me where the felony and the past addiction, where that's popping up and how that's being treated specifically.
So specifically, it shows up on my pharmacy license itself. So any contact I make, I have to disclose that it's there.
Right. So is that disclosed? Is that disclosed upon applying or disclosed in the interview situation?
Most applications ask if you have any restrictions or discipline on your license. So it's right there in the application.
Okay, got it. So you're not even getting calls back?
No.
Okay, got it. Well, the good news about this is that I don't like that kind of application process anyway. I don't even teach that. I really teach the proximity principle, in stage 3 of my 7 stages to meaningful work is get connected. And it is about connections, and connections are going to get you the interview whether you got a felony or not. And connections are everything when you've got a felony, or you've got, obviously you've got a red flag here with pharmacy and addiction. Was it addiction to prescription medication or something else? I don't need to know. I'm just curious, is it the actual product that you would be dealing with?
It was.
Okay. So that's a big hurdle to climb for a lot of people, unfortunately. But the fact of the matter is you've been clean for how long?
3 years.
3 years. Good on you. That's incredible, Jennifer. And I got to tell you, I go to bat for you all day long and twice on Sunday. Okay? Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, I'd go to bat for you because I believe in redemption. And I will tell you that the only way that you're going to get back in is through connections. And it's got to be face-to-face stuff where you're sitting down and you're owning your stuff. And you're at a place probably where most people aren't. Because of what you've gone through, you can be more open about your stuff than most. Is that true or false?
True.
Yeah. I think, and do you have a lot of connections in the pharmacy world?
Not so much as I used to. I've been out of it for the last year and a half.
But you know where to go.
Do something.
You know where to go, don't you? When I wrote the book, The Proximity Principle, I talked about the right people in the right places. You know the right people in the right places, don't you?
Yes. I think my hesitation is just kind of shame-based, approaching friends that are in the business.
I'm going to tell you, that's exactly what you know what you're worried about is rejection.
Yeah.
You're worried about the pain of your past continuing to hurt you. That's what you're worried about. And by the way, that's human. There's nothing wrong with that. That's to be expected. But how do you overcome that? Here's how you overcome it. You need to accept the fact that there are going to be friends or past acquaintances or past colleagues who are going to reject you because of your addiction and the felony. They're going to say, no thanks, Jennifer. I can't touch you with a 10-foot pole. You do understand that, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Have you accepted that? Have you come to grips with that that's going to happen?
Yes. I mean, I've been clean for a few years, so I've definitely experienced people that cut me out because of it. And
great. Do you think that you're strong enough to handle that?
I do.
Great. Because those are the two ways that you overcome this.
Okay.
Here's the analogy. My son, Chase, started playing tackle football in the 5th grade. He had played flag football up until that point, and I said, all right, I'm going to let you play tackle football. By the way, if you parents don't like that, don't send me any hate email because I don't read any of it, just so you know. But I decided that I was going to let my son play tackle football in the 5th grade. So we're driving to the very first practice, okay? And he looks at me and he says, Dad, I'm so nervous. He was shaking. It had overcome him. It was almost like he turned shades of white that I'd never seen before. And I said, what's wrong, buddy? What are you nervous about? He goes, Dad, I'm nervous that I'm going to get hit hard, and I'm nervous it's going to hurt. And I, in my fatherly wisdom, looked at him and said, I got news for you, pal. You are going to get hit hard, and it is going to hurt. and he looked at me like, Dad? And I'm like, buddy, football involves getting hit hard and hurting. And so does life. So, Jennifer, you're going to be rejected, and it is going to hurt. But you are 3 years sober. You're ready for this. And when my son processed that, he was like, okay, I am going to get hit hard and it's going to hurt, but I still want to play. And guess what? I mean, Joe, it was 5 minutes into his first practice. I'm standing there watching. They did the Oklahoma drill where it's a one-on-one hitting drill, and he got a kid, and I went, oh, Lord Jesus, please help him. And this kid was twice his size. And you know what, Jennifer? The kid just crushed him. Popped him so hard. Chase didn't know where his ear hole was or his eye hole. He didn't know what was going on. You know what? He popped up. He shook it off. He ran to the back of the line, and he realized in that moment, I got hit hard. That hurt. I'm still alive. And Jennifer, the proximity principle is going to work for you. You've got to make a list of everybody you know in the pharmacy world and everybody you don't know that you want to get to, and you got to figure out who you know that knows those people who can get you to them. And here's how this is going to go. These friends of yours, real friends, acquaintances who aren't ashamed of you, and you own your stuff. You tell the acquaintances, here's what happened to me. Here's why I did it. Here's what I'm living with, but I'm healthy and I still want to do this work, and I know I can do this work. I'm asking you to just simply do everything you can to get me a face-to-face meeting and say what you know about me and that you believe in me. And there will be people who will do that. And then you've got to have face-to-face meetings with these pharmacy people and say, here's my story. I'm owning it all.
Okay.
And you say, look, I'm asking for you to give me a second chance. I will not let you down. And here's what I'm prepared to do to put in place if you'll give me a second chance. You're going to have to fight for this, Jennifer. Fight as hard as you've ever fought in your life. You hear me?
Absolutely.
But if you fight and you don't quit fighting and you know that it's going to be a relationship who says great things about you, so that when the application goes in and the red flag is there, they already know about it, they want to meet with you, and they're going to fight for you. But I believe there's somebody in the pharmacy world. It may not be in Colorado. It may be somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe somebody will fight for you. So, Jennifer, I want you to hang on the line and hear what I'm about to ask our audience to do. All right? And then Madison's going to help you with this. All right, I'm going to talk directly to the audience here. Listen to me, folks. If you know anybody who's in pharmacy and you believe that Jennifer deserves a second chance, if you believe that we all deserve a second chance, that just because she got addicted to the very pills that she would prescribe to people does not make her a stain on society, that she was weak and she struggled and she medicated and yet she has learned her lesson. She's paid her time for her crime. If you believe that the Jennifers of the world and that you need second chances, you know anybody in the pharmaceutical world, will you email me, ask@kencoleman.com. Ask@kencoleman.com, subject line, Jennifer, and let's see if we can come together as a community and let's give Jennifer the second chance that we all need. And I hope that we can do this. If we can't, it's okay, but let's try. If you know somebody that would be willing to at least have a conversation with Jennifer and let them feel the situation out, then that would be great. So thank you all for considering that. Again, ask@kencoleman.com. Tell her she heard that, but tell her we're going to do everything we can to help her. All right. So I mentioned this the last couple of days. I'm super excited about my guest that I'm bringing in here to the studio. She's a colleague. I consider her my little sister, but she's no little sister to anybody. She is the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Rachel Cruz. Her new book is coming out soon. It's on available for pre-sale now. Know Yourself, Know Your Money. Discover why you handle money the way you do and what to do about it. And so she's going to come in and join me, and we're going to talk about your experience with money, the world you grew up in, and how it affects the journey to the dream, because you cannot get the dream job if you can't afford it. There she is, folks. Look at this. The set already got better looking and a lot more positive energy.
Ken.
Rachel Cruz joins me. How are you?
Some fun just entered.
Yeah, lots of fun.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
We always have fun when we're together, and this is going to be a fun conversation because we have people that are calling in every day and they're going, okay, I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I can't afford it right now. I can't even think about affording an education or a certification, or I've got this much debt. And obviously money affects the journey to the dream. So I want to go back to help those people to realize if they're going to walk out Ramsey Solutions baby steps, part of it is really not part of it, a huge, massive foundation to getting healthy financially and being able to truly walk the baby steps out is actually knowing how you think and feel about money. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. While we talk about personal finance is 80% behavior, it's only 20% head knowledge. And so if 80% is the behavior change, you have to know why you're doing the behaviors you're doing in order to change your habits and to change those behaviors. And so having this self-awareness, it's not just for self-awareness sake, but it really is to use it as a tool to say, okay, here's why I'm spending the money I'm spending. Here's why I got into debt in the first place. Here's why I have struggle saving. Here are these answers because you're actually asking the right questions.
All right, so here's what's fun. You did a lot of research. You looked through this. We said, okay, what's really happening here? And I'm going to walk you through the classrooms, but before I do it, I want you to explain to people what you've done in this book, and then we're going to unpack these things, because essentially these 4 classrooms we're going to talk about, this really helps us all figure out where we are and where we need to be. But tell us where this idea comes from and what you're doing in the book and how you're guiding people.
Yeah, well, the book, is all about understanding why you handle money the way you do. So it's everything from your childhood to your fears, your dreams, your tendencies. There's so much there, but starting back how you grew up is such an important step. And so what ended up happening was, I've heard people say all the time, counselors and psychologists, that your home growing up was like your classroom. Yeah. It's where you learned all your lessons, and some lessons you wish you could unlearn, some lessons you could take with you into adulthood. But figuring out those lessons, and I was like, oh wow, okay, because money is really communicated in 2 ways in a household. It's communicated verbally and it's communicated emotionally. And so having this, as I was writing the manuscript, I was like, oh my gosh, it makes like a graph. Like I was like, God gave me a quadrant. Thank you, Jesus. This quadrant of these 4 money classrooms that really intersect in that midpoint. So the first money classroom is the anxious money classroom. And this is where it is verbally closed, but emotionally stressed.
All right, break that down. Verbally closed. What does that mean? Does that mean that we're not just, there's no talk of money? We kind of know it exists, but nobody ever refers to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So verbally, you're either closed or open in the household. And so closed, a lot of people grew up like that, where money just was never talked about. It was a taboo subject. It's like parents didn't talk about politics, sex, money. I mean, nothing. They didn't go there. And so that closed, but then also emotionally, it was stressed in that classroom 1. You could feel tension. If you grew up in this classroom, you felt tension around money, but it was never said. It was never spoken of. But like toward the end of the month, you could feel that tension rise when the bills were due.
Yeah.
Classroom number 2 is the unstable money classroom. So this is where it's verbally open, but emotionally stressed.
Yeah.
So lots of fighting, lots of conflict. You heard your parents probably have the same money fight over and over again. They may have fought with extended family. Like, I mean, it
so
was
it's
there.
just, when we say verbally open, but the emotional stress, it's just, there's no guardrails. It's just, we've got money issues. Here's why we got money issues. Here's how it sucks. Here's what it's doing. It's just this kind of free for all.
A little bit, yeah.
Is it chaotic in nature?
Yeah, I think so, very much so. And just a little bit of that unstable feeling. So a lot of people I talked to that grew up in this class, they heard a lot. There was tension around money and they heard the fighting. But then at the same time, like their dad would get a tax return and they're like, oh, let's go to the mall and go shopping. And it was like everything was fine. And then the next day, they would ask to get a certain cereal at the grocery store. And their mom was like, no, we can't afford that. Why would you even ask for that? And it's just volatile. It feels very volatile in that classroom number 2. Classroom number 3 is the unaware money classroom. So this is where it's emotionally calm, but verbally closed. Yeah. So this is the one that maybe your head was in the sand with money. You never really even thought about it because it just, there wasn't a thing.
Yeah. This is interesting. As I was on your show recently, we talked about this, and you said, okay, Ken, what was the classroom that you grew up in the Coleman household? And it's certainly this one, the calm, the unaware classroom. And so emotionally calm in that I never saw my parents highs and lows and really stressed out about it, but they didn't talk a whole bunch about money. Now, they would reveal, hey, this is what we are doing. We can't do this. It was clear when we could or could not afford something, but there wasn't a whole lot of discussion as to why, how, where, what do you do with money? Dad never talked about investing with us. You know, now we were encouraged to work, but there just wasn't a lot of communication. I'm curious, and I asked you this before, and I want to ask you this on this show. How much of this do you think is because, and not just Ken and Barb, but how much of this classroom is about a parent not wanting to feel less than if they talk about money and there's not a whole lot of it?
Yeah, I think that there's an element of that for sure. I think I find in this classroom too that if it's a couple, that one person in the relationship will just take control of the money, and the other one is like, oh yeah, that's good. I feel safe not knowing, because it's almost like knowing it and saying it out loud makes it real. Yeah. And when you can just kind of avoid it, it feels better, because if you don't avoid it and you go right into it and actually like state the facts and be in that emotion, it can be hard, right? Because it's discouraging. And money, Dr. John Deloney talks about this, money is like the one part of our lives that has a number to it. Like you can say, I'm a good dad, but no one really knows what that means. Or I'm a good wife. Okay, I don't know what that means. But money, it's like, oh no, like you're not, it is there.
Yeah, it's the ultimate scoreboard.
Yes. And especially for a man, I think that majorly has effect. Yeah. Which is so important, the work you're doing of helping people find careers that they love and that they succeed in.
Yeah, so that they're not just looking at the paycheck. They're going, there's some purpose attached to this. Let's go to the last one, which is the secure classroom.
Yeah, so this is verbally open and emotionally calm.
Okay.
And you don't have to have a lot of money to be in this classroom. It's not, you could have $10, 10 million, but the idea is that it's controlled, it's talked about, and the kids know where the parents stand, but there's no shame attached to it.
And this is the one we want to all be in.
Yes,
Why?
I always encourage, or in the book, the readers to whatever their present day family is to get here, because it's good for you, right? I mean, open communication around money is huge, not only for the relationship and for the actual practical side of money, but when you learn how to communicate well on a really tough subject, you use those same communication skills in other parts of your life, with your parenting, talking about in-laws, talking about the hard things in marriage. And then it being emotionally calm is our key. Like, I want you to be in control of your money. When you're out of control, there's naturally going to be stress. You don't know what's going on. But again, you can make, $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
$30,000 a year and still be in control, have a budget, know exactly what you're doing with it. There's a plan in place, and that gives you peace.
All right, so let's go back just briefly to the other classrooms, the anxious, the unstable, the unaware. If they're in any of these classrooms, they're part of it. They need to understand, well, this is where you grew up, and so this is kind of a learned behavior.
That's
it's
right.
Environmental. What are the things they need to do? So let's talk about if they're in that emotional, the anxious, which is the emotionally stressed and then very verbally close. How do they begin to change the room?
I think with this classroom especially, you have to say it out loud. The communication part of this is huge. Yes, I think that's the number one place to start with this classroom. Because again, sometimes it feels so scary when it's all in your head.
Yeah.
But when you say it out loud and you start actually making a plan, that anxiety goes down and you move right across that quadrant into quadrant 4 at that point. But just pushing into the idea of talking about money, because unlike classroom 1, classroom 2, I find people are scared to even bring it up. It's like, it's not even worth it. To a lot of people, they become apathetic. They're like, it's not even worth talking about money, because if I talk about it, it's gonna result in conflict, because that's all they know. That's how they grew up. And so pushing through that fear to say, no, I'm actually going to take control, and we actually can have a healthy dialogue about this. Number 3, I would say there's a chance that people feel like, okay, if I talk to a woman and her husband just takes care of all the finances, turns out she grew up in that number 3 household, and she's like, it just feels good. I feel comfortable here. If I push in, I don't want to know. It's almost like that ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know, or vice versa, man versus woman.
Sure.
But within this classroom, you have to learn, even though it's emotionally calm, maybe there is control over it, but you have to learn to verbalize it and talk about it.
All right. So what are the biggest fears? Because I think if you look at all of these, classroom 1, 2, 3, there's fear driving these actions.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest fears around money that just if you look across the world, like, this is the humanness and this is what we fear most?
Well, fear is interesting. I talked to Dr. Chip Dodd a lot about this in the subject, and he said, fear is your body's physical response that you need help. And I love that, because I'm like, sometimes we push down fear. When it gets to anxiety, then that gets unhealthy. But when there's a natural fear that bubbles up, there's a reason why. And so it's really important to name it, understand it, and then put things in place to help kind of subside that fear. So one of the big fears, the number one financial fear for women specifically, is, are we going to be okay if something happens? That financial insecurity. And a lot of people experience that, male and female, during 2020, like during the pandemic. And it was, Winston and I, we've been doing this for a decade now together. So we're on baby step 7. But even in April, there were a couple of nights I was like going to bed. I was like, babe, are we going to be okay? On paper we are, but emotionally I felt that. So that insecurity is a huge one. And then another one, which I bet a lot of your listeners can relate to, is that I'm not going to be able to realize my dreams. That I have this dream that I want to do, whether it's a career dream, whether it's I want to live on land versus in a neighborhood, like whatever that dream is, and you're fearful that it's not going to become realized.
This is what I've been wanting to ask you. I'm so excited you're here to answer it. There are times on the program where someone will call in, and for them to switch paths and get on the path to purpose towards that dream job, they know they're going to have to make some sacrifices. This was my story. For me to move into broadcasting without the college degree and the connections, and starting at 22, but starting at 33, there was going to be a time where I knew I'm going to have to sacrifice financially. It's short term, but I'm going to have to do it. So the question becomes, what would you say to somebody who's calling in and they're saying, okay, I'm going to have to take a pay cut. It feels really, really scary. What would you say to them on the ability to absorb that pay cut? What would be the things that you'd want them to look at?
I mean, I would say you have to have hope and evidence that the sacrifice is worth it.
That's right. It's got to be a ladder attached to the sacrifice.
Yes. I mean, like, and I talk about this even with like getting out of debt. I'm like, if I just told you to never go out to eat, never go on vacation again, just because, I'd be crazy. Like you would be crazy to take that advice. Yeah. But it's because you have hope that the future is going to be present. So that hope is a big piece that you're like, and there's evidence of the hope that, it will be better. I would say that. And then I would say, I don't know, something I've learned, I think even during 2020, is that we can live with a lot less than what we believe.
That's true.
So cutting back your lifestyle may feel scary, but a lot of us did that in 2020. We had to. We couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't go to concerts. We weren't going to party. Like we weren't doing stuff as much. And we statistically saved more, actually spent less. It's showing in reports. So like it's doable. And I think this American lifestyle of living at having this comfortability of your income and this certain standard of living, when that gets shaken to the core, it is really scary. But I think that, gosh, we could all live below that.
We certainly can. All right, folks, this is super exciting. Here it is. Nathan, zoom in here. This is the book. It is on pre-sale now. Tell people where they can get it and all the goodies as we zoom in. Look at that. Oh, look at that photo. Oh, right next to the Ken Coleman Show.
Oh, there we go. Do a little plug there.
Look at that. Wait, I always heard it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Look at that. She's just so nice, everybody. Know yourself, know your money. Tell people where they can get it.
RachelCruz.com. And if you pre-order, you get the ebook, the audiobook, and a free coaching call with one of our Ramsey preferred coaches.
A free coaching call on your money.
Yes.
So for you folks who are going, okay, Ken, I know what I want to do. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to do it financially. I would pre-order the book, RachelCruz.com, and you get the free financial coaching call. Then you could call me and tell me what they told you, and I'm going to hold you accountable to it. That's really good. Here is the book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money, Discover Why You Handle Money the Way You Do, and what to do about it. There's the graphic. And I understand we have a trailer for this. Is that right? We do not? Am I right? We do not. Okay. Sometimes, folks, I don't read my production notes. I thought we did. We don't. But
come on,
she's
Ken.
better than a trailer.
You're a professional, Ken.
But you're better than a trailer. I mean, we unpacked it.
No, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Well, it's exciting because for so long, I've talked about the how to budget, how to get out of debt, how to build wealth, how to give, the how-to, but now we're starting to ask the question, why?
Is so good.
And a lot of life problems masquerade themselves as money problems.
That's exactly
and it's not really money problems, it's life problems. So digging in and learning yourself.
Here's why I like the book, folks, because you hear me talk about mindset all the time. You've heard me say a billion times, I'm not going to stop saying it, that the way you think determines the way you act. This book addresses the way you think about money. And when you can get your thinking right about money, only then can you act right with money. And you've got the plan. The 7 baby steps will get you the action plan, but you got to get your thinking right. That's why this is such a fantastic, fantastic book. Again, RachelCruz.com, get it, pre-order, get all the goodies. And again, that coaching call, some of you, it's the life change that you've been waiting on. So do that. All right, Joe, my time is almost up. But before I let you go, remember, you matter and you do have what it takes. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, this is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.